Are we live? Shut up.
Right on time.
Shut up.
Oh. You couldn't ask for better than that.
Yeah, I could ask for no chickens at all. Welcome back to the live. In my good mood, everybody. Today is January 24th, Friday, January 24th. My name is Jonathan, and this is David.
Hey.
Is it actually David? It is David,
Yeah,
right?
that'll work, yeah. I'll answer
Wait,
anything.
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
yeah.
If you call me for dinner, I'll answer to anything. So.
What is your full name?
David Mark Allen.
Well, that's a very short full name.
3 first names, which some say is like the mark of a serial killer. So I'm a little concerned about that. I know.
That's
worried.
what's been going on. Oh. I gotta be careful.
Hey.
How'd your wives? How'd your kids? Because they're raping everybody up in here. No, but that's not what you're doing. You're murdering people. Yeah.
The Mark is the Mark is my grandfather's first name.
Oh,
Mark,
cool.
From Marco Master Giacomo.
Who was?
I know. He was my mom's dad.
Oh, that was actually his name.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Italian.
Yeah.
So you guys, your mom must make wicked pasta.
She does. Yeah, absolutely. You can ask. Yeah.
Yeah?
She's awesome.
Is she?
Yeah, she's fantastic.
From scratch?
Yep. Yes. There's a reason that I have this particular build, and it's yeah. I was raised well.
Wow. Surprised you don't drive a Ferrari.
There's something getting in the way of doing that.
Yeah, Fiji.
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, we've already talked about it on the live, but Dilip Chand just got their TRX. Ram TRX. Dilip, the bus company.
Yeah.
The owner's son, I think.
What did he find?
No, he imported his Ram TRX.
Oh man.
Yeah. 450,000 landed.
Woo! From Australia.
I don't know. Yeah, probably because I think they ship them over there and they do the right hand swap, right hand drive swap.
Yeah.
And then they buy them.
And where does he park that thing? It's
I
like
know,
driving a
they're
carrier.
very wide. Yeah. They're
Yeah.
super. I think they're almost as wide as a Humvee, like the original,
Man.
the actual Humvees. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not super cooperative in here in Fiji.
People are like, "Oh, what a waste of money." I'm like, "Okay, look, if you're worth a lot of money, it's all relative."
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what's that? You know, the passage we were talking about in Bible study the other week.
Yeah.
It's like it's ratios.
Yeah.
You know, the poor woman gives 2 coins,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
like she gave way more than you guys,
Yeah.
and she gave everything she had, even though it was like 2 cents.
Yeah.
Well, you guys,
absolutely.
you give a lot more than that, but it's
Yeah.
a lot less of a ratio than your income.
No, it was really cool because that's the thing that we were talking about in James this week when James 1,
Right.
you know, where he's talking about basically it's better to be poor than to be wealthy, right? Because when you're poor, everything the thing that I took from it is when you're poor, everything is up, right?
Right.
It's like if I'm at the bottom of the bucket, how much worse are things going to get?
Right.
Right. It's pretty minimal at best.
Right.
Although, like the more you're around people, the more you realize that there's always another level to the bottom of the bucket.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But-
and like poor is relative as well.
Yeah.
Depending on where you live.
Yeah.
Poor in the States is like top 1%.
Yeah.
Or in Canada, it's like top 1%
Yeah.
in a country
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, like, well,
You're
I think
bringing
we're
in
both like probably middle class, not upper middle class, not lower middle class. We were probably middle class.
Yeah.
You?
Yeah.
You guys?
Yeah.
In the
I
States?
think our average income between the two of us at one point, I mean, we were never big earners
Yeah.
because I had a blue collar job. Tina's a nurse. I think we had maybe, you know, at the height of both of ours, maybe 70,000 a year, you know, U.S.
Combined?
combined.
Oh,
You know, so not high.
not high at all.
No.
Yeah.
And it was, but I mean, you could get by. I
But
mean,
you can't do that anymore. Not in
No,
the
no,
States. Like, sorry, I'm thinking about 70 grand in the States now.
Yeah.
Post Biden.
Yeah, it would be tough. It'd be really hard.
Also,
Well, they
really pumped on what happened in the American election.
Yeah.
To be honest,
Me too.
my personal opinion, and I can say that because this is our platform. So, I think the world is looking up. The world is looking up. The 80% finally made their voice heard,
Yeah.
and things are about to change.
Did you catch anything from that from that lady bishop that spoke in front of Trump and Pence? What was your takeaway from that? How do you sort of cycle through that?
Well, I already have a problem with lady bishops.
Okay.
So when I hear lady bishop,
Yeah.
I'm already, I Man, might get canceled today, eh? 'Cause I'm about to go. I'm about to go after the Maritime Safety Authority after this. Um, yeah, yeah. Welcome to the live, everybody. Welcome to the live. John's about to get lots of sponsors. Yeah, I think the Bible it's hard to make out in the Bible where women fit into the leadership structure of the church. And I say that because there's a lot of very smart people, very wise men, very, very wise, well-studied men who have written many, many books, and they all land on different sides of the table when it comes to women in leadership in the church. I personally lean away from it in serving on the board of elders and from a preaching, teaching, main preacher, teacher, shepherd of the church Sunday flock.
Yeah.
Now, the counter argument to that is, well, then what is a woman worship pastor? And are we saying that, you know, leading people in worship of, you know, of song is any less important than the way that people encounter God and Jesus from a sermon?
Yeah.
I don't think it is. I think that's some people's most profound experience of church. The modern day thing that we call church is the worship, which we now just think is music. Worship can be many things other than music. Yeah. So, but when I see like, I just do not get behind churches that have women as their lead pastors. Yeah. I just don't think that's scriptural.
Yeah, I think the Episcopalian church and a lot of the traditional historical churches are drifting that way, and I line up with you on that.
Right.
That's my personal feeling from time spent, and for me it was more about that, all of that aside, about why she's in that particular position. And you're right. I think one of the key things to think about is, you can look back and you can see Ruth, and you can see, there were
Jezebel,
judges. There were women judges, and there's places in Scripture where you can point to women being in charge and so on and so forth. So that's where it does, and the question, I guess, would be, is anybody going to go to hell because of a woman pastor? Great question that I don't have an answer for right now. But I think, to me, more was not so much the message, but the delivery of the message at that particular time. I think what she had to say about mercy and some of the other things, you should be able to talk to anybody about having mercy on the poor, right? The poor of spirit, poor of heart, poor, and if you're living in fear, you are poor, right? There's a certain element of poorness to it. And so the thing that I take exception to is the message in the moment and what's to be gained in that. And of course, a lot of people will say, well, she had the opportunity, she might as well send it, right? But to me, there's a much better way of
going back directly to this particular situation.
Right.
Yeah, okay,
there's a much better way to deliver the message that she had about mercy and caring for the disenfortuned, right? Than the direction she took. Yeah, it was agenda driven, and it really kind of rolled back into, I think there was something in the news about the person who organized these things was I forget, Klobuchar, Amy Klobuchar. I don't know if she's a Democrat, but I think she's involved in a lot of again, I don't know everything about it, but it was set up to some extent for maximum value. And my takeaway as a pastor, to hear what she said, isn't so much about, there's a lot of outrage on Twitter about everything that she said about, it's like, who is she? It's just, all outrage on both sides. And to me, it's more, you had an opportunity to deliver a better message and you missed. You swung and you missed, right? Yes, you should be talking about mercy. Yes, you should be talking about these things about, about illegal immigrants and the fact that they, yes, they do pay taxes and all these other things, but it wasn't the time.
Such a distinct undertone.
Yeah.
That it wasn't even an undertone anymore.
Yeah.
It was the tone.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And you took the attention away from Christ and you put the attention on yourself in this message. And yes, yes, there's the
that's a good, it's just a missed opportunity.
It is. And I think, I was thinking about it's like if I had that opportunity and I wanted to say the same things, how would I say it?
Man.
Right? Because I do agree. It's like, yes, we should be a group of people that bring me you're tired, you're poor, you're hungry, right?
Yeah.
And yes, we should be merciful, but there is, in my way of looking at immigration, Fiji doesn't just allow me to hang out, right?
Yeah. You're an immigrant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I don't go in and I don't do my things, if I don't check the boxes, then my residence gets pulled and fat chance of me getting my residency again.
Yeah.
And every time it's frustrating because the times that we've tried to help people legally go to the United States for things that are important to us,
like
we've
Divi?
been shot down. Yeah, Divi,
and
Gabby and Anna and other people. It's like the times that you try to go through the proper procedure and you do everything and you get to you don't even get in the entry gate, and there's just, so, but at the same time, it's like we could open the door to 1 million people and it was just kind of a mess.
It was, yeah, it was.
And it brings back all of those thoughts and in a time when you see, like you said, it's like we're turning a corner and there's a lot of positive movement. And one of the things that, we have friends who lean far the other way, right? And it's just doom, right? Their whole perspective is doom.
Is it right now?
Yeah, it's really sad. It's almost, it's like what causes people to sell out so far that they will break relationship and it goes back to the COVID days.
Yeah.
And the last time that he was running for office and what causes people in their political beliefs to break relationships so significantly over stupid things that are completely out of control. And just because he's in office for 4 years, that doesn't mean what's going to happen 4 years later, right? It isn't like just because the door swung this way that it's going to be like that forever, right?
No, exactly. No.
And
the thing about it is that actually, and the same thing with Pierre Poilievre, who's going to be the next Prime Minister of Canada, is that these guys have a very tough task ahead of them.
Oh, man.
And actually, there's a good chance, especially in Canada, that he gets raked over the coals because he's going to recover from 8 years of BS.
What do you think about being states of the United States?
What's that?
What do you think about Canada becoming states of the United States?
Oh, yeah. I have no interest in it, personally. I'm sure there's some economic advantages that could be had, but I know there's I don't think there'd be 0.01% of Canadians that would be interested in that. Canadians are actually very proud of being Canadian.
They are.
Yeah. And not being American.
Yeah.
Actually, just as proud maybe of not being American
I
as
think
they
so.
are about being Canadian.
100%.
Which actually makes Canadians probably more arrogant than Americans in some ways. Where people, we always talk about ourselves Americans are so notoriously arrogant. And when you travel around with a backpack with a Canadian flag on your backpack, people love you, and it's there's some pride there, wrongful pride, I think. Yeah. But Greenland sounds like it might be.
Man, I might buy some beachfront property in Greenland.
Yeah.
Give up this whole Fiji thing. It's probably a lot cooler in Greenland.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, because we've been sweating our butts off here.
It's been crazy. I don't even want. It's nice now.
Yeah.
Finally, we got rained out. That's why we started late, guys. So apologize about that. Is there anybody in the chat to you right now? Some people.
Tao. His name is Tao. I always have this kind of conversations with my parents, especially my dad, every weekend. Looking forward to another one this weekend. Thanks for sharing. From PNG.
From PNG. Interesting. Very cool. Very cool. Thank you for joining, Tao. Appreciate you. You got some stuff for us to talk about on the mat page? Look at this mosquito. Bang.
Man, don't show that to Tina. She would be happy.
What?
the mosquito thing. She's like fully anti-mosquito right now.
Oh.
Having dengue.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
she's like,
Dave's wife has dengue fever.
ooh, man.
Brutal.
I wouldn't wish that on anybody. Yeah, she wants me to do away with any water buckets around the house. She's like cleaning house.
Oh really?
Oh yeah. She's gonna set fire to the whole backyard.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah. You guys
Get
gonna
after
spray
it.
that out.
There's gonna be no mosquitoes in our life for a while. She's not a happy camper.
Did you watch the press conference, or like when the media was in the Oval Office, like as he was signing Trump was signing all the executive orders?
No.
That was wild. It was crazy to see him opening executive orders and them explaining what this is for, and him just signing and then taking questions on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I was like, whoa, this is crazy to see inside the Oval Office.
Yeah.
Number one, like for that long.
Yep.
And then him just like freestyling. He's like, shh, yeah, just like signing papers and like talking to people.
What a difference from 4 years.
Whoa, man.
You know, when you think about the past 4 years and now what you're getting, and I am not like, I'm not a Trump apologist.
No.
He's not the greatest communicator. He's wildly irritating sometimes, but I think the policies that he seems to be coming out with, like what he did to, I mean, he's doing what he says he was going to do. Getting into the Kennedy, he freed up all the like Kennedy.
He put that on there too, right?
Yeah.
He frees up like the JFK, MLK,
Yep.
and
Martin Luther King, right?
Yeah, Martin Luther King, Kennedy, Robert Kennedy,
Yep.
RFK.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Um,
It's I don't know what's going to come from
deep
it.
dive podcast.
Oh
too,
my
Joe
goodness!
Rogan.
Oh
the
my
next,
goodness!
The next couple months of Joe Rogan is going to be. There's going to be some good episodes.
Man.
And
regarding
the JFK file,
like podcasts and regarding what you're doing, and when you see something like happen in this past cycle, and you see the importance of podcasts, like so Barron Trump told his dad, it's like you need to get on Joe Rogan, right? And they made it happen.
Right.
He got on Theo Vaughn, and then he got on Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
For these are American podcasts, and they reach an incredibly huge audience of men, particularly. And the power of those podcasts and giving access of Trump to, and just being relatable for 3 hours, being a dude talking about important stuff that you're never going to get in the soundbite media, in regular media. You know, and it's what I think that you have going here. You know, the opportunity to invite people in to speak to people about real things and important stuff and have conversations. And the conversations are the mark of the people that you talk to.
Yes.
You know, 20 minutes with somebody and you're never going to get to know who they are. But
it's just hard to find people to like talk to, man. Like I want to do podcasts. I do podcasts every day and just like have a studio.
Yeah.
And just rent out a cheap room, and that's what we rented that spot in Sanganga for, was so that we could have the room as the podcast studio. And I remember when we first, Tui first started with us, that was like the goal, like this is the room and this is where we're going to do the podcast out of, and it never turned out. But
I would love to see you have a conversation with Ramuka.
There's some people that I find
the
interesting.
The past president.
Yeah, the last president.
I would love to hear a conversation with him.
Yeah, and just like, I would love to see who's actually. It's just, I would love to interview like the guys who sweep. You know the guys who sweep the drains in Mombasa on the side of the street. Like if there was like one of those guys was cool beans to talk to. Yeah. Like I would love to just sit down with him and be like, what's it like?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where'd you grow up?
Yeah.
How'd you end up in Mombasa?
That'd be so cool.
Well, it's like freaking really normal people.
Yeah.
A guy who does like the night, the guys who go out in the boats for like the week and then come back to the market.
Yeah.
What's that like?
Yeah,
Being out on boats for a week on end.
Yeah. They're actually pretty cool people to talk to. We see.
Oh, they must be really. And they probably got wicked stories and all sorts of stuff. They'd be really, really neat. So, beyond like it being
like Alan,
famous people.
Alan would be a great one. That
I've always thought about him, and somebody said that in a recent comment somewhere. Or maybe it was somebody else talking.
What an insight into Vanuatu to talk to someone who was born here, raised here. It's a little bit on the edge of the system, on the edge of of everything. Looking in.
Yeah, for sure. As the
And,
Kailoma kind of family, yeah.
And getting his take on on all of this.
Yeah.
That's
my fear is always to have somebody on that I'm just like, this guy is gonna give me a 2-word answer, and I'm gonna have to think of like the next question like ASAP.
Yeah.
You know, like with you, it's easy. We just banter back and forth. You ask me a question, I'll go, and then I'll ask you a question. Yeah, I don't. Again, I feel like all the guests to say like somebody like Joe Rogan has on. Yeah. People either just have really good podcast host partners. Yeah. And they just do it like this, and then once in a while they have a cool guest. Yeah. And they never do guests, or you're Joe Rogan and everybody you have on is really good. Yeah. Because that's the thing. He doesn't have people on that don't want to talk about what they're on to talk about. Right?
It's like Wes Huff. When you get someone like Wes Huff, you
unreal.
Get just like that arc of people that he's had on over this past, Mel Gibson and some of the people he's had on. It's like you're going to get conversation out of those guys. Yeah. And some of it's going to be crazy talk, and some of it's going to be just incredibly awesome. Yeah. You know, and it's kind of a risk, and you do have to do a little farming, probably, in order to determine. It's like you know. Because it's one thing to sit on a boat and have a conversation, talk about nothing for 2 hours, right? And just banter but as soon as you kind of turn lights on, give them a microphone, and like there has to be something that clicks.
Yeah, there does. Like, and that's the risk is that there isn't a click. Yeah. And so we're supposed to go and film with a company called Czar Logistics, and I'm supposed to sit down with the owner and do a podcast with him. Yeah. That's what they want to do. And he's a extremely wealthy man. Yeah. He's the first guy to bring in the TRX, his TRX into Fiji, and back home he's got a McLaren and a Lamborghini back in Sydney. Okay. So he's a very wealthy man, like legitimately wealthy. Yeah. And so I'd love to ask some questions like, so how do you, as a very successful businessman, you know, what's it like, you know, driving your $500,000 vehicle up to your factory where, you know, there's a lot of people who just struggle to get by? Yeah. Like, how do you wrestle with that as a person, as a leader? Yeah. Because, like, that's something I feel. Yeah. You know? Like,
that's a great question.
It is something, but I don't think these guys are willing to have, I don't think these guys are willing to have those conversations. And I don't want to talk to people who aren't willing to have real conversations. Do you know what I mean? Because, I don't want to just like lob stuff
softballs.
Just lob softballs at them. Like I don't get excited about that.
Tell me about yourself. Tell me about your family. Tell me. You
know, that stuff's cool, but then eventually that's got to get somewhere, right? Like me and you've already done that. Yeah. Like off camera, we've known each other for a while now, and so we don't have to do that leitmotif, right, Tree? That's not actually the right use of the word. That was our word of the day a couple weeks ago.
Oh my goodness.
A leitmotif is a dominant recurring theme, such as a melody or an idea repeated many times throughout a book or story.
That's a good word to use.
Yeah, Tui put that in. Yeah. Tui doesn't even speak English, for those of you guys who don't know. Yeah, it's crazy.
He just makes up words as he goes along.
Yeah. How are you? Good? Okay. China. Yeah. What's up, homie? It's Tony.
Everything's from movies. He just quotes movies all day long.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to talk about MSAF. Apparently, we've infringed some things at MSAF, some rules that you guys have in our videos. So, here's what you don't do, MSAF, okay? So, apparently, you've been trying to get in touch with me through my uncle, who is your safety boss, okay? And he has told you, don't go through him. If you want to talk to me yourself. And I encourage you to do the same. And like, I'm not upset. I'm actually saying the wrong way to use us is to penalize us for the videos that we put out and the wrong things we do, because no one has any idea what your rules are. So use us to explain the rules to everybody. Awesome. That would be better than giving me a $20 fine. Yeah. Actually, I'll just take you out for a $20 lunch, and then we can both enjoy lunch together instead of paying a $20 fine or whatever it is. But we need to. So here's what I'm saying. Join us. Pay me money to promote what you guys want gone out to the world as far as safety, rules and regulations, the different laws that apply on the intercoastal waters, and let's promote a Class 6 Boatmaster license course that we can put on in Lambasa together, because I need it. I need my license because I'm about to get a boat, and so let's do this together.
Well, even more so, it's like, let's make it easier for people to get their license. Let's put the basic stuff online, that you can take an online course in the United States. It's like you can do in any state. They offer an online U.S. Coast Guard approved course that you can take online, and you go through
for non-tidal waters.
Yeah, for non-tidal, and so
I got my pleasure craft license.
There you go.
Yeah, that's what it's called in Canada.
And same thing. So I have mine from Oregon. Okay. And,
what is it called?
It's just it's a boatmaster license or something like that, and so I took the one on a coastal water, and you can do it online. It's super simple, right? And it's a good test. You can fail it, if you're not paying attention. If you try to run through it, you're going to fail, and you have to go back and start again. But you can pay easy, and with M-Pesa and all these other things, you can do it so simple,
exactly,
right? Yeah. And make it so that everybody understands that this isn't about like trying to control you, but it's about trying to be safe.
Yeah.
Right? And then make safety things easy. Like trying to get flares for your boat, you have to go to, the only place that you can get them is in Savu Savu at the yacht club, at the yacht shop. And
they're $5,000.
Yeah.
Or what?
$250.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Okay, so tell me, one of these fishermen around here are going to drop $250 for a set of flares, set of 3 flares, because they only sell them in sets of 3. And there's like different sizes of them. And then you
walk the boats to the
an anchor chain
soon and just
like you're supposed to have anchor chain in the boat. You can find all of the rules online. They do at least have that, like the minimum stuff, but they don't make it easy for taking the course. The last one that I knew of was held close by, and it was 4 days. Like it took 4 days. What are you doing for 4 days?
Yeah. Like when I did my pleasure craft license, I should have a porn stash for when I say that. I feel like that's actually what I showed Steph to get her to start dating me. It's like, hey, look at this. I got my pleasure craft license. Want to date me? It was like every night. This is like 20 years ago. Yeah, well, it's a long time ago. It was every night for 5 days. But that's like 1 hour in the evening.
Yeah.
And because that's what worked for people's schedules. But every time it comes up, I'm like, dude, I cannot give like a full week of like full days.
Yeah. And that's where it's changed to be, where, how long ago was that, you think? 10 years?
It might have actually been like 17, 18 years ago.
Yeah. And so things have changed so much now that basically you can put aside 3 to 4 hours online, go through this whole course. The one that I took was like super thorough. And at the end of it, you take the test, you pass it, and they'll send you print out I've completed the thing, and eventually I think they're supposed to mail something to you.
There you go.
I don't think they're keen on mailing it to Fiji in this particular point.
Right, yeah.
But I think I've run against a brick wall there, but I think definitely Fiji can put something like that together.
Yeah.
Plus there's also like yacht, people who move yachts. There's different level that you can take courses through.
Yeah, sure.
So that you can get actually like your license to take a boat from here to New Zealand for people for money, and whatever license that is.
Yeah.
Right, your seaman. I don't know what it is, but
I think the basic
simple.
one is your Class 6, right? Or no, your Boatmaster. Boatmaster, and they usually combine that with a Class 6.
Yeah.
But the point I'm trying to get at here, guys, and MSAF, is that, for example, a finance company will approach us. This has happened a few times. And I'll be like, okay, probably they want to do like, or an insurance company, do some sort of marketing through our platform. And then I'll go meet them and they'll be like, we're just wondering if you need any insurance policies or if you want like a loan or something like that. And it's like, that's really, you want to turn me into a customer just like every other customer and not use us to promote your products. Like the wrong thing for MSAF to do, I'm saying, is like just to find me instead of like getting the word out.
Right.
Because you're totally missing the point at that.
Yeah.
At that point, your head is screwed on backwards.
Right. Because you're not a customer. They don't perceive people as customers. They don't perceive service.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And they perceive their role as
enforcers.
Yeah. Policemen.
Yeah. Enforcers without educating people on what actually is to be enforced.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it goes, ignorance of the law is, I forget what the saying is about ignorance of the law, but it's like, there's actually ignorance of the law.
Yeah, for sure. Well, because we don't know the rules.
And the average person's thought when they see some sort of policing on the water is run away.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
And don't go to MSAF and stay away from those guys and do everything
because
you can.
It's going to be a pain in the butt.
Right.
So
it's going to cost me money.
Together, let's make it enjoyable.
And so every time a boat tips over...
let's make it so that people are like, honey, we should do something fun. You want to go to the Maritime Safety Authority and be like, yeah, babe, let's do that.
Let's have that class together.
Yeah, together. Yeah.
I'll write you notes. You can write me notes. We can learn
so
about
romantic.
boats.
Whisper sweet nothings in my ear while he's talking about, starboard and port.
That's right. And you can walk out of there what?
With a pleasure craft. Yeah.
It's a perfect thing for couples, right?
It is. Actually, and that's how we're going to sell this. We're going to rename Boatmaster Pleasure Craft License Holder. Yeah. And it's going to be great. I think the future is very bright. Okay, so we got to talk about this crazy freaking lady. Oh, okay. Fiji Airways had a lot of drama over the last week. So I'm just reading this headline for the first time that Tu's put in here. You want to... Oh, Tu doesn't have a mic. Okay. Passenger passes away on Fiji Airways flight.
Ooh.
Another one was Fiji Airways passenger restrained. And then I think earlier in the week, there was a plane that had to sit on the tarmac, or a bunch of planes?
Yeah,
for like 4 hours.
I think so, yeah.
So, I'll be honest with you guys, I'm not going to badmouth Fiji Airways because we already work with them a little bit. And it's not that they've made me sign an NDA or whatever, but that is a very potentially good partner for us to have because we travel a lot. And the one thing that I've learned about the aviation industry and talking to some of the upper management, it is so much more complicated than we can ever even possibly come to understand. And the amount of rules and regulations surrounding everything, like there is a reason why that plane was on the runway for
How many
4
people are
hours.
in one of those planes?
I don't know, actually.
Is it a couple hundred?
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
So you sausage people, or you stuff
Sandwich.
300 people into one of those aluminum sausages and expect everybody to behave for 11 hours continuously.
Yeah, exactly.
Sooner or later, somebody on Ambien and booze is going to break through.
For sure.
You know, they're going to find a hole in the sieve and
Yeah.
things are going to go sideways.
Yeah.
And also considering like how many hours they're traveling, 11 hours plus. No, there's 3 flights every day, 2 or 3 flights that are at least 11 hours, right? Plus all of their other flights going everywhere.
Yeah.
Who knows how many hours those guys are in the air, Fiji Airways, and the fact that they have one death every now and then is stunning.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and the chaos that it always, like if you ever have, what's the app for, you can look at all the flights?
Like Flight Radar.
Or something like that. And you click on that and you look at how many flights are in the air all the time. It just, it's mind bending.
Yeah.
It's like looking at the LA freeway, you know, a picture of that where it's just wall to wall cars, you know, and you take into account that like more things don't happen on a daily basis.
Oh gosh.
Is a freaking miracle.
Yeah.
It's a testament to hard work and good people and all the other things. But it's really entertaining when somebody does break through.
Oh yeah. Like trust me, the video is very, very good. We've enjoyed watching the video. I don't know if she's racist. It might be a stretch. She said, "Get your hands off me, you ugly people." Like I've experienced racism before, once. Like straight up racism, and like I've like I've been called names that I could be like, oh, that guy doesn't like me because I have color in my skin. But like I've only had one actual like old German guy that was like very clear that the color of my skin, he didn't want me close to him or touching his car when I was a mechanic.
Yeah.
And so there are things that we can stretch that. So I don't know if there's any need to put words in her mouth. She did say, "Get your hands off of me, you ugly people." They might have actually been ugly people. I don't know. Maybe she was drunk. She sounded like she was probably as wasted as those 4 girls who showed up in Fiji like 2 months ago, and then apparently they got drugged. Yeah, that's called bounty and bottomless pina coladas, everybody. So the tourism, like, there's no need for us to rag on the Fiji tourism situation or on Fiji Airways, because without these 2 things, most of you would be eating Maggi noodles and tin fish. So we need to keep them accountable, but at the same time, like, understand that these are very complex businesses.
And I think the stuck on the runway thing was related to really bad weather in Nandi, and I mean that has huge implications for those guys.
Oh yeah.
You know, you're an hour late on something and you're screwing up so much, you know, down the road. It's a domino situation where everything. I mean, there's people. You think through all of those people have got either flights or things going on after they land, and it is tumultuous. You know, when something goes sideways.
Everybody's got somewhere to be. Every single person on that plane has a story.
Yep.
As far as like not just a life story, but a story as to why they are there and where they are going.
Yeah.
They have a reason and they have a destination. And the only time you don't mind a change in plans is when you have no destination.
Yeah.
But it just so happens in the logistics game, every single person has one of those things.
Yeah.
And so that means that every time they don't reach that place on time, or in a condition in which they thought they might reach it, it's not good.
No.
So it's a very hard thing to like keep people. A very hard industry to keep people impressed.
I'm just impressed that. So I saw 2 young women, I think, trying to control someone who had lost their mind, right, or had lost their self-control.
Yeah.
And so that they had to tape her up, that they had to do anything, you know, it's like. It's a pretty, I mean, it's a pretty harmless way of controlling somebody.
Oh yeah.
That's out of control.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's like zip ties and other things you could do.
Yeah.
And but it seems like they did what they had to do, and I don't. I mean, I think I was reading. This was like a few years back. Somebody did that on a flight full of USA Greco wrestlers, and things went a whole nother direction.
Yes.
So where somebody got launched.
Yeah.
And things went sideways, and he was controlled, but there was.
Oh, I'm sure he was.
He was definitely controlled.
When I was doing jiu-jitsu, I was like, somebody give me a reason to lock you up. Like, somebody please put your hands up. Well, sometimes.
Yeah.
And so that's clearly a sign of a man who has other issues going on in his life. Once in a while, I would be walking around. I'm like, you guys realize I learned a heel hook today? Oh, please.
I'll heel hook your leg right off you.
Yeah, I will sit down and I will accept you into my guard right now. Just like,
man.
Yeah, and yeah, 2-stripe white belt. Yeah, great. So you wanted to, we were in Extra the other day.
So I was in Extra, and I came across this man, and he had a very glazed, sort of, not panicked, but he definitely had a look about him as though he had been through a trial. And it turned out that it was John, and John had just finished a 7-day fast, and he was telling me about it, and I thought, man, this is a question I'd like to hear more about, an experience I'd like to hear more about on this. Because your reasons were really good, you know, and it just, you know, personal, spiritual. There's a lot of stuff there that I thought was really cool, and I wanted to hear, like, about that from you. So tell me a little bit about what made you decide to do it, what was your motivation, and what were some of your experiences and the takeaways that you had from it.
Okay. Well, first of all, Dave, it's really nice to meet you. It's like, okay, that's what I hate the most about these stupid like news interviews. It's like, oh my gosh, this is so cheesy. I knew that I wanted to do something in the new year, just because, like, you know, over the Christmas holidays, not in my workout routine, and it's like, okay, want to get back into the routine, and I was going to do a 3-day water only fast, which I've done before, only once before. And it wasn't fun. Like, I think if you can get through 3 days, the rest gets easy if you don't have to be around people who eat delicious food or cook for people. That gets hard on the 4th, 5th, and 6th days. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody starts looking like the cartoon turkey.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So true. So true.
Tui's talking to you, and he's got like, looks like a baked chicken.
Yeah. Yeah.
With a Tui's face.
Yeah.
And you're just like.
Yeah. Oh, seriously. Like, you hear like plastic crunch, you're like, oh, chips, you know? And so there's a church that I would encourage you guys, if you are interested in hearing what I believe is just the gospel being preached out of the Bible, just really, really raw. There's a church in Atlanta called 2819 Church. It's pastored by a gentleman by the name of Philip Anthony Mitchell. And they're really taken off in the last couple of years. He's been a pastor for like over a decade, and so he's just recently taken off and hit big on socials. But he called his whole church to a 7-day water only fast. And so, you know, I heard this message about 3 days before I was going to do my 3-day fast, and I'm like, man, nobody, like, that's very rare. That's like, you know, people who want to do something very special to do a 7-day water only fast. Yeah. And then I was like, dude, this guy's calling a whole congregation of randoms to do this very tough thing together. Yeah. And his whole reason was like, I don't want you guys to do the freaking punk American fast where we don't go on and scroll Instagram for 7 days or Facebook or something like this, or like we don't send Snapchats for a week. I'm calling you guys to like a biblical fast. So for those of you who can't do the 7-day water only fast, we can do Daniel fasts, or if you're pregnant, or if you work a like really labor intensive job, you come up with options, you know, make it hard. Basically, he was saying, we're going to seek the Lord, we're going to break our bodies and try to hear God. Yeah. And so I was like, okay, well, man, if all these guys are doing it, or maybe nobody actually did it from his church with him, but I know a lot of people did. And so that's why I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. So Stephanie flew out. The day that I decided to do it, I got a call we got confirmation of our biggest like media contract to date. Awesome. And so, you know, confirmation bias, whatever you want to call it, I was like, okay, I feel like it was just good confirmation for me, whatever you want to call it. And so I'm also aware of confirmation bias, is what I'm saying. Yeah. And then, the whole intention of doing this fast was to, I wanted to break my flesh. I wanted to seek the Lord and be obedient, to do something difficult and give up something that I love, which is food. Yeah. To hopefully give myself some space, time, and clarity to alter my surroundings. Yeah. To maybe see life in a different way. Yeah. Yeah. And so in this last 7 days, I didn't really, honestly, I think I was saying this to you, I just felt hungry, man. Yeah. To be frankly honest, I just felt a lot of hungry. Yeah. And not much. Oh wow, God speaks so loud when I'm starving my face off, you know. But I realized how much I rely on food for sustenance, and how much I appreciate it. So it just gave me a whole newfound appreciation for food, which is great. Because like water only is, I did my 3-day was liquid, so I was still drinking coffee and I could have like lemon in my water and stuff like that, right? So this was just nothing but plain water for 7 days, and it's freaking wild.
So no lemon juice, nothing. You just stayed straight water.
Straight water. Man. I missed flavor. I was like, I wish I just put a pinch of salt in my water right now. That's how desperate I was. And probably not the wisest thing to do in Fiji with no electrolytes, but I played it pretty safe. Other than the 2 days I went spearfishing, that was really, really
that would
tough.
be brutal.
That was tough.
Which days was that in it?
That was days 4 and 5.
Okay, that's hard.
Yeah.
That 3-day mark, you're starting to physically feel it.
Yep.
Like your energy is way down.
Yeah.
And your motivation is like...
Second day spearfishing, Alan was like, stay around. We got an extra gallon of fuel. We'll just do another day. And I was like, oh, okay. This is the first time I'm like not stoked to do the second day. And it's the first time you've ever offered to like, let's use all the fuel. I'm like, well, okay, man, I guess so.
Yeah.
So we did.
And you're swimming is hard,
like
diving hard. And
I had the best dives of my life that whole,
really?
those 2 days. Yeah, for sure. I think my body was just on point in that way, but it tired out very quickly. Like in the night, I didn't have any energy to sit around and hang out while everybody was enjoying cigars and suki and drinking grog, right?
Right.
Which is, I'll sit around and hang out with the boys after, but I was just like, I have a headache. It was a constant headache the whole time, which is normal. But in the end, it came to the last day 6 and day 7, and I really started to like see things like happening around me. Like we started doing devotions with Tui and Roy and Gase on the farm. Yeah. And we started doing those every week, and I've been trying to pull the trigger on that. You've known about this for a while, and I don't know, for whatever reason it just never happened. And then this last week it just happened. I'm like, this is what we're doing, boys. Yeah. And maybe it's the fact that Stephanie and the kids are away and the house is quiet, so it's perfect. And we're sitting on the couch and no distractions, and maybe that's it for such a time as this. And I'm good with that. But it's happening now, and just like a lot of work that's come through. We've been waiting on news like that I have not allowed to talk about publicly yet. Yeah. I mean, you know about that. Yeah. And I've haven't heard from people for a long time on that stuff, and now I've gotten calls and might be have some more clarity on our future on that in the next few weeks here. And again, I'm very conscious of confirmation bias and go and God's working.
Like linking things together, that it's like sometimes there's coincidences, and sometimes there's the work of the Spirit in your life, and things where you can actually point to like God's actually moving in my life in a real way. Yeah. And sometimes things just happen.
Yeah. And I'm just, one thing that I was really stood out to me was that was great about the last 7 days was being able to wake up in the morning. And for the last 20 years of my life, the first thing I need to do when I wake up is do some sort of workout. Yeah. And if I don't wake up and do the workout, I'm angry at myself when I wake up, and I'll do the rest of my day.
Did you end up working out during this?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I totally took that off my plate because I'm like, I don't think I can. Yeah. I've never done the 7-day fast before, so I think I need to play it safe. That's what I was thinking. So it was just like, wake up when I want to wake, when my body wants to wake up, which was around 6. Yeah. And plop this chair in the doorway with a cup of water and just straight into my Bible with no feeling of like, I should be working out. Right. Because the reason I work out first, guys, is not because I'm such a great guy. It's because I'm too weak to do it later in the day. Because if I don't do it right away, I'll procrastinate it.
And temperature, and there's a whole bunch of
I gotta get.
It's not enjoyable.
I gotta get the shit out of the way right away. Yeah. Otherwise, I won't do it. And then the repercussions of that is that now you've done the hard work, so everything else in the day feels easy. Yeah. That's the consequence, the good consequence of doing the hard stuff first. All right. So I'm not some like crazy athlete workout beast. I'm just the guy who's like doesn't have the willpower to do it later. Yeah. And so that was just nice to release myself from that. And in that time, of reading my Bible consistently over the last 7 days, was like, I can't even actually remember where I was reading. I have to get my diary. But where it talks about if any of you seeks to have wisdom, ask your Father, ask the Lord for wisdom. But when you ask, do not doubt. For a man who doubts,
James. It's James.
That
1.
is James, right?
Yeah.
Okay, it's James 1. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's actually
right at the beginning.
Yeah, it's it's in that James 1.
Tui, anything on that?
1:8, 1:9, something like that. Yeah. Don't be double-minded. Basically is where it goes, right?
And so
if you're going to ask for wisdom, don't be double-minded.
Yes. And so one thing that I was talking to the boys about that stood out to me is like, look, we often, I know in Fiji, because I've lived here not just in the last 5 years, but when I was growing up, a lot of pastors take this verse out of context and they say, do you have anything to pray for? You do prayer times, and they say, when we pray, we must not doubt, because if we doubt, our prayers will not be answered. Mm-hmm. And they reference this verse. This verse is, I believe, not talking about all your prayer requests. Yeah. I think it's talking about wisdom and only wisdom. Yes. And so I was telling the boys, I think wisdom is the only thing that we can actually ask for, and we will receive it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Everything else is the verse where is it Romans? For everything happens for the good of those who love Him.
Yep.
That is our role, is to ask for wisdom, so that we may then see what is the good.
Yep.
The God's good in the situation that we're in, and so all I can do is actually ask for wisdom. And if I ask, I shouldn't doubt in asking for just wisdom.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
But that's pretty cool that I can ask for wisdom.
Yeah.
And I feel like this whole, like the softening of my heart, seeing things, the puzzle pieces kind of moving and things coming together is God now allowing me to see the good, everything happening for the good of those who love Him, the good of those who have asked for wisdom without doubting.
Yes.
And so I'm not saying I had some profound spiritual experience here, guys. I'm just saying, like, I feel like God's allowing me, like, these blue, or what do they call blue light glasses that I have. He's allowing me to see things just in a bit of a different way.
Right.
And shifted my perspective a little bit. And so I'm not a whole new man, and I haven't found out, some life hack of some sort. I just seen it a little different.
So it was really cool because you had talked about James, and then it's again, this would be one of those things that I don't think it's a coincidence. Like Gabby brings up the idea of James is what we're going to go into next. And so that's where I was what I preached on this weekend, this past Sunday. And wisdom is the application of knowledge and the discernment that comes from perspective. Knowledge is knowing what to say, and wisdom is knowing when to say it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And so you can have all knowledge, but if you don't know how to actually apply it, then you don't have any wisdom. But over time, what you're going through is like you're gaining wisdom by your experiences, you're gaining wisdom about yourself, you're gaining wisdom about your life, about what you're thinking of. When you take away that one important aspect of your life in fasting, this thing that we're all a little obsessive over, right? We all wake up and think breakfast, right?
Yeah, sure.
Coffee, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Whatever our little hitch is. And when you take that away, now there's a hole, right? There's a hole in our life. And after 7 days, you start to recognize that hole, and you start to have a more open-eyed approach to, man, what am I focusing on? And so you gained knowledge about yourself that comes from self-control. Now you know that you can have self-control to go 7 days of no eating. Just drinking water.
Yeah.
I can manage self-control. There's things in my life that I can have. It's hard. 7 days is hard. I think if you ask the big guy over there,
it's probably saying nothing.
No. Ryan, what's the longest you ever went without eating?
Your weight cuts?
That's a tough question.
Do you know? I mean, a couple days.
But you were doing weekend after weekend.
Yeah.
You were doing it every freaking weekend.
But I would just eat less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did your weight cuts suck?
Yeah. Oh, they were awful.
Dude, wrestlers are different.
Yeah, there's a different mentality.
Exactly.
And practice. You have to practice too. And you're doing 2 a days usually, right? Yeah.
Crazy.
The goal is to lose it while you eat, but healthy.
Yes. Yeah.
Right, yeah, exactly, yeah. Dave's son is sitting in the background, and he was a college wrestler, high school college wrestler, and so he's done many miserable, hungry days in his life.
And he's approached it good ways, and he's approached it not so good ways.
I'm sure, yeah.
At some point, you got to go unhealthy to get it off because you can't miss weight.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And so you learn about self-control. You learn about those things about yourself, about what can I weather. I think there's a lot to that about. And that's wisdom, that's applying knowledge about, now you can apply knowledge about yourself as you move forward in your life. It's like, giving up food for 7 days is not for the faint of heart.
And water for one.
Yeah, and it's not easy, know, and actually realizing that, what, I can work, I can do these other things, I could go diving, on an empty stomach 4 days in. It's like, I can survive that.
Yeah.
There's a lot to that because most of us act like if we miss a meal, like there's like
Something's wrong.
Yeah, it wrecks people.
Yeah.
And so that's a huge gain in knowledge. And, and through those things, through trials, we gain wisdom. And that's the whole point of that first part of James. Like it's talking about
trials and perseverance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It develops in us endurance, and endurance is a form of wisdom. It's an understanding of what you're capable of.
That was one of my, I haven't gone very far in James. Actually, I've been in it for like 2 weeks. I'm only in chapter 2, but
that's really cool.
It's interesting because, so consider pure joy, my brothers and sisters, is how James starts off, all right, guys? So, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Now let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything.
Yeah.
And so, just so everybody is clear, I'm preaching here, and I'm not a pastor, so this could be totally whack.
That's okay. I'll just punch you.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, yeah. Your karate kick to the face. Yeah. That God's goal for you and me is not some thing. It's that we would, like an object, like a physical object. It's that we would be mature and complete. Yeah. And so all life is actually just perseverance. Perseverance is life. And the end goal being that you end up being the person God wants you to be. So the sooner that you can become wise and become, which will lead to maturity, like that is when all the perseverance pays off. That the point of maturity is the end goal of the perseverance. But like there's nothing else promised to us in life other than heaven. And so where was I? So blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, going to verse 12, because after having stood the test, the person will receive the crown of life that God has promised to those who love him. So the only thing that we're promised to receive is actually heaven. Yeah. So the only thing, guys, the only thing about life the only point
if we are followers of Christ.
Yes. If we are followers of Christ. So this doesn't apply to you if you're not a Christian, all right? Just to be clear, don't judge you. I don't judge you. But like there's just a lot of weird theology going around. And it's like, look, if you're a Christian, the whole point is perseverance. And the end goal, we already got it, is heaven. Yeah. And on this earth, maturity. Yeah. So the sooner that you can reach maturity, the better. Yep. And God will keep giving you stuff until he feels like you are getting closer to being the person that he's trying to make you.
And I think it's really important that you define maturity, right?
Right.
Because you and I are mature, physically mature men, right? We've reached certain ages in our life where we're done growing, right? Except I can continue to grow as long as I keep eating, right? But like we're not gonna mature any more than we are. But he's talking about spiritual maturity, and when he's talking about spiritual maturity, he's talking about Christ likeness, right? And so, we're called to grow in Christ likeness, and one of the characteristics of that is someone who has persevered. Consider it all joy. All your burdens, really, is what it boils down to. When you look at the Greek and you understand, it's like the weight that you bear, right? Consider all that joy. And the thing that I focused on is like, we all have joy in our lives. When your boys were born, when you met Stephanie, when you got married, those were joyful situations. Just those are easy. Those are easy pickings, like for the joyful moments in your life. But he's actually asking us to consider the joy, the miserable things,
right? Yes,
the terrible things, the super hard parts of our lives. We are to consider that joy, because that is what really grows our spiritual maturity. That sense of seeking the Lord for wisdom in the worst of times.
Yes, there's a quote by Andrew Tate, and I'm not like I don't really land here or there with him. Like I'm forced.
Even a blind squirrel gets a nut every now and then.
Yeah, exactly. But he said something that really stood out to me. He's like, "There's no love in the good times."
Yeah.
Basically, like it's easy to love when it's easy to love.
Yeah.
Like.
Yep.
But, and that's not love then.
Yeah.
Love is when you got love is when it's tough.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like that.
Yeah.
Like it's easy to be happy and joyful when it's happy and joyful.
Yeah.
When you meet the love of your life, when you hold your baby for the first time, like you're saying.
Yeah.
But do you have joy in those other moments?
And it's, for, like I look at, Tina and I, it's been 43 years that we've known each other, 40 years that we've been married this year,
this year, right?
Yeah. This is a big year. I turned 60 and our 40th anniversary.
Holy.
And then having Ryan out. It's just, I keep telling it's like the most epic year ever.
That's awesome.
So, love is that, like, after 40 years of marriage, there's passionate love. There's all of the different aspects of love, but it's also like, having the person in your life that, you laugh at their dumb jokes and and you just, there's not like this, there's the spark, and then there's also the enduring friendship that you have, and the fact that you would die for this person, right? That, and when he talks about, you get into, submit unto one another, wives, submit unto your husbands, love your wives like Jesus
loves the church,
right?
Yeah,
loves his church. That you would die for your wife, right? That's what love is.
Yeah,
like the fact that she would submit unto me, and that I would love her as though I would die for her.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's what love is. Like it morphs from that moment of getting all googly eyed over one another and having all the the little birds singing when you're talking about her, thinking about her, whatever, the Disney kind of love, right?
Right.
And then moving towards that compatibility, and after 40 years having, we've endured some shit, right? And I say that in the most honest way possible.
Yes.
And the fact that,
and that's where I wrestle. Like perseverance for me has been my perseverance story is very different than your perseverance story.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to even have a conversation about perseverance with somebody like you, who's lost a child.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you are you ever like, dude, you have no idea, man, how hard it can get. Do you ever have those thoughts?
No, not really, because I think what humbles me is that everybody has their own story, right? Everybody has their own grief and their own things that they've gone through that are changing their lives, and to some people it's like a job. They've lost a job that was really important to them. Who knows what? We all have been through something, and what I've been through is, I haven't watched someone I love go through cancer. I haven't, there's so many different colors to it that it isn't as though, I feel like I have a righteous platform to stand on, because part of it is humility. It's like,
and at any moment for the person that you are talking to, could be a cancer diagnosis or some crap like that is.
And I don't try to say, I really make it a point of trying not to say, hey, I've been through that before, You know, it's like, I know what you're going through. I almost never use, in fact, I would say I very consciously think that I never say the words, I know what you've been through, right? I know what you're going through, because I don't. That's the thing that I learned. It's like, nobody knows what I'm going through.
Yeah,
nobody knew what I'm going through.
So many extenuating
right, even, you know, in our whole family, Tina, I don't know what she went through. Right. I don't know what Ryan went through. I don't, you know, they don't know what I went through. And it's vice versa. We have this link in common of grief and misery, you know, but it's different for each of us.
Yeah, right.
You know, and it doesn't put me on a pedestal like, you know, hey, I've been through that. I should have like a, you know, a gold star for this particular characteristic.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, how I did it may not be the healthiest thing in the world.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know, and because there's a lot of denial in my particular path. Right. You know, about it's just different. You know, but it's the experience has given me an incredible amount of, I would say, a ton of maturity and a ton of growth to have walked through this.
If it doesn't give you that, then I guess, like, I think you're, you know, looking at the back end of a noose.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, for some people,
I love that on the way out here, Ryan and I were just talking about Justin. You know, we don't have that opportunity very often, and I really love it. And we were just, there's things that we laugh about, and there's things that are, you know, really, it's like, there's certain things that are okay and not okay, and you know, and that's the way it has to be, you know. But I think you know, for Tina and I, it really spurred a leaning into of, you know,
it was
a
one or
trust.
the other, right?
Yeah.
Like I mean, like we're saying,
yeah,
it was either okay, God, see you later, or
you suck, or I don't understand this, but I'm going to follow you anyway. And so, you know, but I've watched other people, you know, and no matter what, they've grown, you know, personally they've grown through it. And the question is, you know, our particular pathway and the way we chose was towards faith in Christ, you know. And I know other people who don't have that same faith, and I don't know where they are. I don't know how they've landed on things, and you know, they move on with their life. You know that they find happiness again and other things, but you know, I believe that in it we have found a particular pathway that brings us a lot of peace and has really helped us develop a more joyful approach to life. You know, it's like there's things like, and also I'd say like Cyclone Yasa developed a lot of character.
Oh yeah,
you know?
yeah, for sure, yeah.
You know, I could point out a couple experiences. It's like, I grew. You know, I took like, you know, the junior high growth chart jumps, like the marks on the wall. It's like Dave was here, and then after this, it's like, my goodness, it's like, you know, he was 12 years old again. Right. He's like grown a foot in a month, and you know, and that's how I feel about certain things. And I think you do. You know, my perspective from good friends who've helped me grow in this is, you know, we're all on this arc of growth, right? And if you relate it to the physical growth of a child, if you relate the physical growth of a person to the spiritual growth of a believer, you know, you start when you're born again, you're an infant, and then you proceed as though you're a child, a young adult, you know, an adult, a parent. A parent would be somebody who's making disciples, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. And it mirrors like the life cycle of a person, you know, and that there's a lot of characteristics that cross over.
Yeah.
And, you know, that growth in spiritual maturity is really it's a significant part of being a follower of Jesus.
How much of your life would you say is just is coping versus being proactive? Because I would find it, I guess it depends. The further, I guess we're like probably right after Justin passed away, there was a lot of coping.
It's funny, I have more trauma.
Do you find yourself taking action because it's like a coping mechanism?
When in the first year, yes.
Okay.
Like the first year, you know, Tina and I, it was extremely important that we were walking together. We each found that we found a natural cycle of up and down that was, you know, inversely proportional to the other person. You know, so as I was up, she might be down. As I was down, she might be up, right?
Tough, yeah.
And it worked out I believe that was very, God had his hand on us in that. And then also there was like part of the self-care. We were talking on the way over about, like, I have a playlist that's just related to songs of Justin that relate to him. And I'm musically motivated emotionally and easily manipulated through music emotionally. And so if I put on something to listen to and it puts me in that place, in that headspace, I can like grasp that again, the grief and the other things, and it's like it's almost like letting the pressure off of a kettle.
Sure.
Right. And it does. It alleviates the pressure, and it helps me to deal with things in a. That first year, I was a hot mess.
Oh,
like
I'm sure.
I remember being at work and just like sobbing while I'm trying to get work done.
Just wet sawdust everywhere.
Yeah. And and so it's like, but over time you find balance. And honestly, like I said, the thing that I have the most trauma in my life from is Yasa. Of sitting in the house that we were living in, and it's like, 100+ mile an hour winds, and it's the reason that I was so completely out of control. Like everything was completely out of my control. I couldn't, like the whole situation, I couldn't protect Tina. I couldn't, all of these things were completely out of control. And even still, it's like when it like rains heavy, like I'm not sleeping.
Yeah.
And so, and that actually had more of a long-term mark on me than even those things. I worry about the big guy over there in the chair sometimes about certain things, and we're a little bit more clingy, and luckily he's forgiving, and there's just a lot of things to it. Yeah.
What do you think about the saying? Or I don't know if it's a saying. I just heard somebody say it on a podcast recently, and I was like, man, that is so true. I don't know why I was thinking. It popped into my mind while you were talking, but he said, like, courage and stuff like that. It's compartmentalized.
Yeah.
I think that's. And he's like, for example, he said, some guys, will fight 5 guys in a bar in the flick of a switch.
Yeah.
But they don't have the courage to quit a job they hate for 20 years.
Yeah.
And,
or apologize.
Right.
They would rather die than apologize. And I don't know, I think we each have our things that are like that. And that goes back to your self-control, right?
Right.
Like managing yourself, and like I think you and I had talked a little bit before about, isn't Colossians about examine yourselves, right? And it takes a lot of that. The more that you are in that reflective relationship with Christ, and the more that the deeper your relationship, the more you grow in maturity, the more you look at yourself, not as a navel gazer, but more in an effective reckoning about where you are and the things that you need to address. That's part of growing up.
Yeah.
Is dealing with those things.
Yeah.
And actually having the courage to address the things that you need to address.
Yeah.
And that's a hallmark of a spiritually mature person. Is the person that takes a good hard look at themselves and says, I can get in a fight with 5 people, but I can't apologize to my wife or take ownership of not doing the dishes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. What is that?
Where's that?
Yeah.
Right.
I need to work on myself.
Yeah. And so obviously anger management, and but that's part of right. Yeah. And I have things that I'm always working on. And after 40 years, there's pathways in our relationship that still need work. That are they need constant maintenance. And sometimes there's pathways that need to be blocked off and completely directions changed. In how we address one another. And it takes courage to actually hear somebody saying, especially this person that you love is telling you, hey, I can't deal with that anymore, right? And that I have to take ownership of it and change.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because all you want to do is like, well, you suck.
Yeah, you start to develop, like, after this much time, you start to just very slowly develop pathways that are easy, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so snipping at each other and other stuff like that, like short answers and
for sure.
And
mine is like sarcasm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it doesn't do anybody any good.
No.
And learning how to keep your mouth shut is probably one of the greatest pieces of wisdom that there is. And learning again, having the knowledge, knowing and how to use it.
Yes.
Right? Knowing what should say.
Like MSAF rules.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Like, I mean, bringing it full circle.
Yeah. Yeah. Why do you have life jackets in the boat? Because every now and then you're going to need them.
It's
right?
true. It's true. And you might be the only guy in Vanuatu that has...
Man, I think Catanavere, President Catanavere, his brother, drowned in the boat.
Yes, that's right.
You know, and it's a good reminder of it's the little things that make a difference.
It's true.
You know, yes, those life jackets seem silly, but you tip your boat over in the wrong spot, and
they come in handy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're there for a reason. You know, and we should do things like that.
It's not normal practice.
Yeah.
And it should be. One more time. Where's Vatulele Island, Tui? Is that Nandi? I'm interested in this.
Over there.
So, Vatulele Island Resort, it has been permanently closed.
Oh, man.
Which is... Wow, that looks
Where is
nice.
that? Wow.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Interesting waters.
So between Kandavu and Vitilevu.
This
right?
is Kandavu, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Ah.
Wow. Are you guys going there?
No, but said landowning units of that resort, Vatulele Island Resort, are calling on the government to return their land so they can sublease to potential investors who are interested in redeveloping the site. The land has remained idle for almost 7 years. TLTB General Manager Estate says a notice has been issued to the current leasee, and they were yet to decide whether to terminate the lease or not. Yeah, this is now... I mean, if they still are paying the lease, I wonder how that all works.
I don't know. Isn't there something about leases that if you don't use the land after a certain amount of time that...
Is there?
Basically, I don't know.
Yeah.
But maybe somebody could help with that.
I would love to have somebody from the TLTB on, too.
That would be an educational experience.
Yeah.
Because that's a little bit of a mystery.
Yeah.
And you've dealt with them, so...
Oh, I have, yeah, for sure.
And it's a... that would be a great conversation. There's a lot to learn there.
Oh, the initial agreement with the first owner included provisions for employing local use and making lease payments every 6 months. However, over the years, through ownership changes, those agreements were not upheld with discrepancies in payments. A few years ago, I made a random visit. Okay, so who is this talking here? So speaking on behalf of the land owning unit, so like the representative. He makes a visit to random visit to TLTB for a statement, and to my surprise, it was only $4 in balance. Not 4,000, not 40,000, not probably like 400,000 like it should have been. $4. Wow. And that's the thing with while people are very hesitant to lease their land in Fiji, and
because the money it doesn't make it into the...
Well, yeah, because you lease with all of these promises, you know, and then it ends up just getting obtained by somebody who doesn't do anything with it.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So how does your lease work?
My lease?
Yeah.
Do
you lease land, right?
Yeah.
And so your lease payment goes to who?
TLTB.
To TLTB.
Yeah.
And do they hold it in a trust, or what happens with that money?
I think it gets they take their cut, and then the rest gets distributed amongst the registered members of the clan.
Gotcha.
And then they can go in, I don't know, and take out their money. Have you withdrawn your money too? Have you done a money withdrawal from TLTB? Ever?
It's automatic now.
So it goes into your bank account?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Every year.
Yeah? What was your last one? Just kidding.
You want to know?
There's no new cars coming, I take it.
Did you get
No
one?
Ferraris.
It's all of them.
Oh, nice. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's nice.
That's sweet. Yeah.
Just about the time the new iPhone comes out.
Yeah. Mine comes out in September.
Hey, perfect timing.
Oh yeah, that's classic like iPhone fall.
Yes.
That's classic
Yeah.
Apple. We're gonna release everything.
We're going to take Tui's money just like that.
Yeah. Right.
I had a question for you that I saw on, there was a Instagram social media person, something, it's Kay, something about Kay. Her last name, part of her title is Kay.
Okay.
And she asked, what is there to do in Lambasa? And there was a lot of responses about that.
Oh, what did Katie? What
Yes,
does Katie
that's
do
it.
next? or
Yes,
something?
that's it.
Yeah.
I saw her actually over in Sabu Sabu. She was
I owe her big thanks because she
Oh,
wrote us a
man.
really bad review on Fresh Tea and Coffee,
really.
and I went into it and I couldn't find it anymore. So I think she had taken it down because I noticed what happened was I noticed that she had taken pictures. Anytime you post a review on a Google review, it goes to an inbox, and so I get an update in my email or saying, hey, somebody's taken pictures of and uploaded them to your shop, or made a review or whatever. So I see a picture and I'm like, I see her reflection in the window, and I know that she's in Vanuatu.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, it came on Sunday, and she took pictures of our hours on the window. I had not updated our hours in Google to say that we were closed Sunday, which we've been closed Sunday for like a year and a half now.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, shoot. So I changed my hours, and then I DM'd her before she wrote the review.
Yeah.
Without seeing that she had written a review.
Yeah.
And she said, hey, look, I just saw you posted pictures of our hours. I'm so sorry that we hadn't updated our Google profile. And then she's like, I got like a 2-star review from her. And so I clicked on it, and I can't find it. So I don't know if it's there or what. But I have to... I'll check it right now.
So if you were to answer a question,
Yeah.
what do you do in Lambasa? What does a tourist do in Lambasa?
Leave.
Buy lunch and go back to Sabu Sabu, right?
Yeah. Honestly,
a lot of the answers, like, so she posted it on Instagram or whatever it was, and she said, "What's there to do in Lambasa?" And of course, everybody points out the fact that it is what it is. It's a working town, right? This is a farming town. It's, I describe it as like, in Idaho, it would be, this is a logging town, right? This is about work and business, and you're not here for goofing around.
Yeah.
You go to Demote, or you go to, there's the Mandir thing on the other side, and there's a couple other things, the floating island, and I think is out of town, and
yeah, that's one thing people always say. You have to go to the floating island. I'm like, I'm so excited to see marshland.
Right, exactly. To walk in a bog.
Dude, I come from northern Saskatchewan. It's like we're not.
Yeah, it's not one of my more exciting things.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think it brings out a point. It's like they're building these hotels. You see a lot of investment in the north, and it's like, what's the underlying, if you're talking about flying more people in here, what's the resource, or what are we doing that's going to generate tourism interest? Because ultimately, that's the like you said, that's the engine that drives this country. It's tourism, right?
Yeah.
And that's why they're expanding the airports, and that's why they're doing these other things. And and we talked before, if you're going to bring more people on the ferries and et cetera, what would make Lambasa? What are the things in Lambasa that would make it really, really cool?
Well, the thing about Lambasa, geographically speaking, like, people come to Fiji for the beaches, and that's it. Like, not that's it. That's what they mainly come here for.
Yep.
And the reason why you come up to Lambasa is because you're hoping that you can get further away from the people.
Yeah.
And that experience does get more authentic.
Yeah.
For sure. That'll happen in Thailand or
Yep.
Malaysia or in Mozambique or even in the United States. The further you get away from the big city centers, the more authentic your experience gets in
Yeah.
the country. And so if you come to Lambasa, you're looking for that, and you get it.
You do.
But Lambasa is also really neatly situated. Like the mouth of the Lambasa River, where it comes out, is actually really close to the Great Sea Reef.
Yep.
And whereas when you go down to like towards Nukumbati and Riketi and coming down towards Bua, the Great Sea Reef is very run
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
the third largest, great,
Yeah.
barrier reef
Yeah.
in the southern hemisphere.
Yeah,
And so
because we don't have beaches. That's not one
No.
thing that it's like it's marshland and it's the mangrove swamps and so you're not going to get beaches on the north side of Vanuatu.
Yeah.
There's a couple, that are kind of these gems, some little islands out there that are one of a kind, taking somebody out there and letting them swim and do other things.
Yeah.
It's what are some things that people can set up and do, that you could direct people to inland,
Yeah.
and making the most of, so you don't have to get on a boat and do these other things. And I think it's a good question.
I think this leads me into which is a whole nother live topic, but
Yeah.
people have this romantic idea of locally owned businesses
Yeah.
and locals running businesses. It doesn't work if you don't know what other people want.
Yeah.
The reason tourism works is because there is a leadership structure in an organization that understands what people coming from these countries want to see. And we in Fiji don't understand what tourists want because
Yeah.
we have never been in their shoes.
Yep.
And so when we open businesses to serve people who are spending the money and the holidays that they get once every 2 or 3 years to go and do something like this, we always or very often will let them down.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm a firm believer in creating jobs, because I can't expect somebody to start a business and serve people on a level that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And so all you get to do is lead by example and hope maybe a couple people will follow in your footsteps. But I guess it sounds pretty Jewish of me, but creating a job is the most valuable thing that we can do, I think, in
Yep.
Fiji. And so for that reason, I think there's a romantic idea of us starting Fijians starting businesses and doing this kind of stuff. It's a recipe for letdowns,
Yeah, I
unless
think-
you have the right coaching.
Well, yeah, and you look at the waterfall over on the other side there. What's the village that's put that
Guandomo.
together? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's coming around nicely.
For sure, but
And-
Apeli's very influenced from Western.
Yeah.
He's been, and
Yep.
and he has so much assistance coming from
Yeah.
the fanciest people.
Yes.
People when it comes to the spa, he has
Yeah.
legendary spa women coming in who are
Yep.
spa influencers.
Yeah.
They're the people who set the bar.
Yep. And help them know what to do. I mean, that's really important. If you're going to try to do something that, I know the Airbnb craze of well, I'm just going to put my house on the market and rent it out to somebody. It's if you're renting it out to somebody from overseas, there's a different standard.
Yeah,
There's
for sure.
You're going to get the backpackers that are going to take whatever's put in front of them
Yep.
and be pretty happy. But a lot of people, what we consider high living here, is pretty. I'm not paying $300 a
I
night.
walk into some of my friends' houses who are brand new builds,
Yeah.
fancy cement homes
Yeah.
or whatever, and I'm this is very bare bones.
Yeah.
It's awesome, and
Yeah.
I wish I could have a house.
I think
but-
our house, our house would be. It's a nice little inexpensive Airbnb, right? It's
Yeah.
it's well built. It's cool, it's got air conditioner. It's got these other things that
it's
would
got
make
real
it.
cabin vibes. Your house
Yeah,
for
yeah.
some reason.
So it could rent out as a, but it's not a luxury Airbnb.
No,
There's nothing about it that I could point to and say
The only luxury Airbnb I've ever been in is the houses in Nasoso Island, like in Nandi.
Yeah.
Those are like, when you walk in, you're like,
I ain't buying this on a regular basis. This is a step up from my normal
dude,
day.
it's like,
yeah.
You walk in and you're turned on. Okay, anyways, we're gonna end it there because that's getting weird. Because you walk in, you're like, dang, this is sexy, man. Like, like, man,
especially if there's a pool there.
Oh,
that's like it's done.
Yeah, babe, we're going skating tonight. Oh yeah. Here's my pleasure craft license.
Man, Tui's taking his headphones off right now.
Yeah, exactly.
He's gonna burst in flames.
Okay, we didn't answer any of your guys' questions, but hopefully we can chop some reels out of this bad boy. Thank you guys for joining. Anything you want to say before we end it off?
I'm curious to see what the most controversial reel that Tui's going to come out with.
Yeah, exactly.
The clickbaitiest one.
Exactly. Come at me, MSAF. All right, guys. I'll see you later. Peace.
Peace.